Welcome to part 2 of our 3-part series on how to set up and publish an online registration form. In this part, we will go over how to set up the online registration tool in CDM Plus Web Ministry Tools. If you have not created an event in CDM Plus Desktop, please go back and watch part 1 of this series to learn how. Now, let's begin part 2 by opening CDM Plus Web Ministry Tool page. So we've opened up our browser and we have gone to wmt.saran.com and you come to the login page. You should have received a Web Ministry Tool username and password. If you have not received your Web Ministry Tool credentials, please contact support and you would enter it here to log into Web Ministry Tools. We have logged into Web Ministry Tools and you see that we already have a 2022 Gala event. How we created that was by clicking on the New Tool button in the upper left. This brings us to a page where we can find the single event registration tool. Here we clicked Create and we gave it the name 2022 Gala. Now let's go back and let's take a look at how this event is set up. We're going to begin by looking at options. These are the options for this registration tool. We're going to go straight down and we're going to look at filters, specifically the fields for attendees. By default, first and last name are required. However, everything from email down, you have the option that you can set by this pop-up menu. If I click that, you can see that you have the options for required, not required, or hidden. In our case, I've required email and phone, but I've made the rest of these hidden. We'll see how this displays when we actually go through a registration. The next area is the options area. The first thing you're going to do is select the 2022 Gala event that you created over on the desktop app. When you do that, the available activities will be listed. You can see those 2 activities that we created are here. If you want them both to show on this event registration tool, you want to make sure you put checks in these check boxes. You can set the maximum quantity per registrant. We want to set that 1 registrant per individual seat, but a particular registrant could opt for up to 5 tables if they wish. In addition, we've set our notes area to be optional on both. And if we want to include any instructions, we can put them here. So let's add and say, please provide any food allergies. Okay. With that, we can move to the next area, and that is giving activity an alternate name. In our case, we're going to call it seat reservations. And I will point out where this change is made during the registration process. Under item 4, you can see this is where we set up our tool to be able to accept electronic payments. And you do so by just putting a check in this checkbox. This next area is for registration notices, and it does not apply to CDM Plus Essentials. So you don't have to worry about this because with Essentials, a registration notice is automatically sent. Under item 6 is where you can enter in staff email addresses to be notified when a registration is made. You can have as many staff email addresses as you want, just separate them with commas. If you want to allow overbooking, you can just put a check here. In our case, we're going to leave the maximum registration to 500. If you want to charge a processing fee, you can enter in that dollar amount in the box here. The CDM Plus event registration tool also allows registration of multiple attendees on one registration. If you wish to do so, just select this first radio button. We're also going to show our event summary page by selecting this radio button. In item 11, we can select the payment methods we want to accept. In our case, we're going to select all of them except for American Express. Under item 14, we are going to show our review and confirm page, and we'll just put a check. And if you want to have additional text for this page, you can enter it here. And finally, you can decide whether or not you want to allow partial payment. In our case, we're going to disable partial payment for this event. When we have these options selected, we click on Save. This brings us back to our tool list where we can move on in the process of publishing this event registration tool. So we'll click on Publish. Here you see the different options you have for publishing this tool. First, you can consider using embedded HTML. So if you take and copy this HTML tag and send it to your web developer, they can add this by embedding it into your HTML of your website. Also, you could just use an HTML link. If you select this particular link and send it on to your web developer, they can add this simple target link to your website. You also have the option for a direct link, again by copying and sending this to your web developer. In addition, this direct link can also be provided via QR code by clicking on this button to download a picture of the QR code for this tool. We also provide a preview link, which will allow you to go through the registration process before it is posted on your website. And finally, if you want to use Engage and you want your people who have Engage logins to have access to this registration, you can publish this to Engage by just putting a check in this checkbox.